have been used to till you reach a consulting firm. Because a consulting firm normally hires the most intelligent people, right? So you suddenly being in the top 1 percentile in your class or top 5 percentile in your class in a consulting firm, you're average. Because all of them are from the top 5 percentile of their own classes, right? So if you look at the requirements, if I start thinking about the good consultants, these are the group of people who have been extremely smart and intelligent, and at the same time be able to work with a team, and you really spend time with this team for hours and hours and hours. If you have a team of 5 people working on an assignment, you will be spending 14 to 16 hours every day for weeks, maybe for months, even for a year. Right? So if you think you are not able to work with a group of smart, intelligent, hardworking people, you cannot be a good consultant. Right? And I'm not telling you about this idea, I'm just giving you an advice. Right? This is something which, in my view, we cannot capture that in recruiting. In recruiting, what we can do, we can just find out whether you're smart or intelligent. Whether you're a good team player or whether you're a bad person, you cannot find that out. Right? So it is your decision whether you are really suitable to become a consultant. Otherwise, you will come into the consultancy business and you will not be happy there anymore. Right? So it is purely your own, and I'm not saying it is good or bad, because there are specific jobs for people who can be independently and individually extremely smart. Right? So I'm not saying that the smart team player is great, no. There are great individual people also, but all I'm trying to explain to you is the profile of the person who comes into consulting. The most important aspect is to be able to work as a team with a group of people, with a client, should be able to take criticism and should be able to work very hard. Intelligence is a given, right? And normally we are able to capture that during the interview process. The others is extremely difficult. It happens during when you join the firm and start working with them, you start finding out who is good at this and who is not good at this. And some people correct themselves, which is great. Some people cannot correct themselves, which is not great. And if you have an understanding about that in the beginning, it is for you to decide whether consulting is the right place or not.
How do you grow your people, and how you staff them?
How you grow the people and how you staff them. Okay. Grow people, they grow on themselves, we don't have anything. Okay. If somebody tells you that we do training programs and all those things, we do have maybe, let us say, a 2 weeks or 3 weeks program twice a year maximum, or not even 2 to 3 weeks, 1 week a year. Right? There is no very structured training program for weeks or months within a year, and I personally believe it is not useful. We give a training of, let us say, 1 week of how to do issues analysis, communication skills, interviews, and this and that, maybe for a week. Beyond that, in my view, the best experience you get is working on a case, and that's what we do. So the training is, there are some basic trainings given at every level. At consultant, there is a training. When you become a manager, there is a training. When the senior manager, there is a training. But 95% of the development is on the case, working with experienced people and just learning on your own.
You also mentioned direct mentoring all this stuff.
Yes, correct. It is direct mentoring on the case with the people whom you are working with. Okay, so that is about training. There are training programs. So when you join the firm, like you will go through, let us say, a 1 week training program or a 3 to 4 days training program in which we explain the fundamentals of what is important in consulting, right? But even that is not useful unless you start applying it. Too theoretical and useless. How we allocate staff is whenever we get an assignment, right? Every assignment has various requirements, like you need to have partners, senior manager, consultants. And it is a match between what is the requirements for the case and what is the requirement from the consultant side, right? But most probably, all consultants are supposed to be generalist when they join the firm. So in my personal opinion, you get allocated to a case, most likely if you are free and we sold a case, just to put it very bluntly, right? But over a period of time, if you got staffed on telecom cases many times, then you suddenly start getting identified as a telecom expert, and when there's a telecom case, you get staffed on that. There are specific requirements saying that somebody says, I don't want to go into this country, or I may have to spend time with my family. This will be considered as long as it doesn't impact the profitability of the firm, to put it very bluntly, right? If somebody says, I cannot go to Dubai, and all the cases are in Dubai, I don't think it can be tolerated for long. Right? It can be tolerated once or twice, and the third time also we get a case in Dubai and this fellow doesn't want to go to Dubai, doesn't work. Right? But if there are 2 or 3 people available in the office, and let us say 2 of them like to go to Dubai and somebody doesn't like to go to Dubai, then we will try to take the person who's interested to go to Dubai. Right? So the summary answer is the staffing is done as per the requirement of the project, based on what is available, and we will accommodate the consultant's needs as practically as possible. But at the same time, you also have to be careful. You cannot keep doing something to a consultant which is not good for him, because if he's a good consultant, he will leave. Right? So I can keep saying that I will force you to go here and there, and he is unhappy. As a firm, I cannot do that many years. I can do it twice or thrice. The third time, he will be calling people for other jobs. Right? So all those things are in our mind when we try to force people to do some things which they don't like, and we also appreciate that we can do that only 2 or 3 times, and we keep repeating that many times. He is going to look for other jobs, right? So there is no clear procedure, to put it very bluntly. There is no strict procedure of how people are staffed. It just happens. I think I explained to you how it exactly happens.
So if you have a, when you're applying to a specific office, and you might have a position which are either it's an country or another country where you do have a specific office. So when you need, how do you choose the offices, or do you choose it directly to the skills?
No. See, first of all, again, let me be clear. I don't think a fresh MBA is chosen based on their skills and based on the industry expertise. That's my personal opinion. Right? So if there is an MBA from INSEAD who is suitable for Singapore office, in my view, is suitable for any ADL office. Unless there may be a very specific case that somebody has 6 years of experience in automotive, and the automotive practice is very much concentrated in Germany, that can happen. But in my view, that is 5%. 95%, the experience, this very specific industry expertise is not what we are looking for when we hire you into a consulting firm. So, in summary, what I am trying to tell you is, if a person is suitable for a Singapore office, he is suitable to any other office. So, what it means is, which office to get selected is your choice. So, if you say that I want to go to Paris office, then we may maybe do 1 or 2 rounds here in Singapore, and then ask the Paris office people to continue with the second, third or fourth round of interview for you to get hired. But you can still apply to the ADL Singapore office, there's no problem. But you have to specify where you want to go. I have not found a way to handle this otherwise. I don't know how to handle it. So it is good for you to say, Thomas, I am happy, I want to go to Paris office. Then fine, we will do the initial 1 or 2 rounds training in Singapore, and the final 2 or 3 rounds will be done from the Paris office. Let me just continue a bit more. After joining, you can shift also. Recently somebody shifted from ADL Singapore office to the US office. Again, there is no strict pattern, there is no pattern within ADL that people are rotated between offices. There is nothing like that, right? Somebody says, I want to go to the US office, then there is a discussion happening between ADL Singapore and ADL US office, saying that, okay, this Thomas Kurula wants to shift from ADL Singapore to ADL US, and if the ADL Singapore will tend to relieve him, because there is no point keeping somebody who is unhappy. So in our view, we should allow him to go. Now the issue is whether the US office wants him or not. Right? If that happens, then the person moves. So after joining also, you can move around as long as the office you want to go to likes you. And the chances of another office liking you is extremely high, because I don't see the requirements in various offices are different. So if you are a good consultant in ADL Singapore, US office will, and obviously we will give a recommendation. The fact that you are working in my Singapore office, I already like you. So the chances I'm going to tell him that he's a good person is 99%. Otherwise, he would have been already been thrown out of ADL Singapore. See? Good, sorry.
So just to be clear then, for those of us who may be looking, who are on the single campus, maybe looking for Europe, everything should go through ADL Singapore and then it's sort of divided out at a later stage?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay, we are doing that just because it is administratively easier for you. But let me also give you an advice. In case you are physically going to be in, let us say, in Munich, we will not even do the first round in Singapore. We are trying to do the first and second round in Singapore to make everybody's life easier, assuming that you are in Singapore. But if you are actually from another country and you are going to be there is no reason to do the first round in Singapore. You can physically do that there.
About this whole thing about the transfer,
Right.
office of your education. When it you said that there is no reason, for example, this office can take from office, but is there an expertise required if you're not level?
Not at your level. If somebody is an expert in automotive industry and he has spent 15 years in automotive, then in my view he will continue to be an automotive expert, right? And then suppose he wants to move to the US office, then the US office will think, do I need an automotive expert? So that is not applicable in my view now for you people. If it is applicable, it may be for only 5% of the people who have a lot of industry expertise. Because every office needs good consultant. Every office, if there is a good consultant, they will take them. That's my view. It's not easy to get.
So just basically at the MBA stage, no one is an expert, I would say. So even if you have worked 7 or 6 years in automotive, we don't take you to a CEO which has 20 years of industry expertise and tell this is our expert that he will love. So basically at MBA there's no expert. Expert is someone with 20 years of experience.
I think we can continue the discussion outside.
Okay, Thomas, I suggest if we move to the last slide so that people can note down the email addresses of Marlena, who is the person to write to in case you are interested in applying.
Just let me, actually, these are the people who actually joined from INSEAD. These are actually the list of people who are from INSEAD who joined ADL.
ADL Singapore.
ADL Singapore office, all of them.
So we have about 7 people now.
Yeah, and Neil is here, and Diogo is here. And Jeffrey La is actually the managing director of Southeast Asia. I'm responsible only for Singapore office. We have a Malaysia office, and both offices report to Jeffrey. And we are happy with all these people. That's why we keep coming back again and again. So we have some very good people who have joined ADL from INSEAD, and we are very, very keen because the people who are with ADL from INSEAD are good people. So we are expecting, and we welcome people from ADL, including my boss also, very, very smart.
How big is the Singapore office?
I think it's around 22 people in Singapore. We just yesterday also, last week we recruited people, the number keeps changing. I think it is somewhere around 22. And Malaysia, I think it's around 10 to, between Singapore and Malaysia, I think we have around 32, 33.
Which is your largest office?
Largest office is in Germany, which I think we have around close to 70 people. I'm not 100% sure. It's just
Just a Western.
Sorry, do you have offices also in China?
yes. Yeah, we have an office in Beijing and Shanghai, and we are recruiting in those offices also.
Also in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong also, Beijing. Yeah. In the region, we have offices in Korea, in Japan. We don't have an office in Australia. We don't have offices in India, Pakistan, or Philippines. In this Southeast Asia, we have offices in Singapore and Malaysia. Then we have office in Hong Kong, Beijing, Shanghai, Then we go out, we have offices in Tokyo, in Korea. That's it, that's the scale. We don't have an office in Australia. I will not spend time here. These are just some of the cases. I don't think I want to go through this now. Just to give you a flavor of the type of jobs which we do. No need to, okay, fine, we will skip this. That's it. I don't want to, yeah, okay. Just note this email address. saban.norlina@kdlittle.com. This is the person to whom you have to send your resume or your interest. Any other question? Maybe one or two more before we break.
Do you have any language requirements for?
No language requirements. It is good to know some more languages and when you go to specific countries, but it doesn't compromise for your intelligence and smartness.
Don't you need to interact with the local clients? You're in
Yes, but we are able to conduct the business in English. Yeah, local. That's why it is always good to have know the local language. It's always an add-on. But as I said, it cannot be in lieu of not being a great consultant. No, it is just an add-on. And if you don't have any other language capability other than English, also it's okay.
Thank you, Thomas, and
Thank you very much.
we will continue the discussion outside.